Unicorns and glitter and taxidermy critters are just some of the things they like. They also enjoy 80s hair bands, Grizzly Adams and John Goodman, so if you think that's weird then you can take a hike. But the things they enjoy the most are making art and cracking jokes, so without further ado, here are your hosts. You've got your two artsy gals, your two artsy gals. Here are your two artsy gals.
Hey listeners, this is Katie with a few top of the show announcements. Nothing big this week. We did choose our winners for the drawing, and we will announce those on the coming week's episode, because Lonnie and I both want to cheer for our winners. But it was fun, and we love doing giveaways and contests, and we would like to do more in the future. So if you guys have any ideas about contests or giveaways that we could do, let us know, because we're always looking for ways to get our listeners involved in the show, and we like fun things. I think that's about it for this week. Oh, just a reminder, let's see, this coming week we will not have an episode because it's Labor Day weekend. So we're going to be doing our Labor Day weekend into summer awesome fun stuff. Just remember, we won't be around for that weekend, but we will be back the following weekend. To check out all of the links and examples and cool stuff that we do for each episode, all you need to do is go to our website at twoartsygals.com, and you'll find links to the Pinterest board and links to play each episode if you want to forward them to friends and let them know and they're kind of podcast illiterate. You can always send them to our episode, because every single post that we do on the blog there has a link to listen to it on Podomatic on the web. So there's that. You can also do other cool things from our website. We need our listener support all the time, because this is a 100% listener supported podcast. And there are a couple ways you can do that, and you can do them all through our website. You can donate money to the podcast. You can do a one-time donation. You can set it up to do a monthly donation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the donation or how small the donation. Every little bit helps us continue to bring you fresh episodes with new content and keep things going around here the way they need to go. Again, our website is twoartsygals.com, and you can donate through PayPal by clicking the donate button on the website. You can also send us cool gifts from our wish list on Amazon, and you can do that through the website by clicking our wish list button. And we just got something really cool in the mail that we'll tell you about next week, because again, I want Lonnie to see it first before I just blabber about it. But one of our really great listeners sent us a really cool gift, and we would love that. But also, if you just don't have the money to spend on us, but you love us, or you want to keep us making the podcast, you can just go ahead and share our podcast with people. Tell everybody about it. Spread the word. Like, we need more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the more likely we are to get sponsorship and maybe take some of the burden off of you listeners and off of us. So tell everybody about us. Share us on the Facebook, share us on the Twitter, share us on the Instagrams, and we're on all of those places, by the way. We are Two Artsy Gals everywhere. If you would like to contact us and tell us awesome things or ask us questions about any of the episodes that you listen to, you can email us at twoartsygals@gmail.com. You can call our voicemail line at 503-395-7190, and we might even play your message on the show. That would be cool to hear your own voice over the interwebs, wouldn't it? Oh, you can subscribe to our podcast, as always, through iTunes, through Stitcher, whatever app that you use to listen to podcasts. And now you can do the Podomatic app, which not only allows you to listen to our show, but you can also listen to thousands of other Podomatic podcasters. and they're all free apps, and they all work great, and we hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, this is Katie.
And this is Lonnie.
And you are listening to Two Artsy Gals. Yay! Wah, wah, wah.
Do-do-do.
If you hear noise in the background, by the way, I hope it cuts it out, but I forgot to turn off the Olympics downstairs. But I feel like people are cheering us every once in a while.
Yeah.
I feel like people are, woo,
"Yay, good job,
doing
guys.
a good job on the podcast, girls. Keep going.
Good job.
Woot, woot. Have you been watching the Olympics much?
No.
Bits.
Oh my God,
Little
I
bits.
love
Love the Olympics.
Yeah.
I like the Olympics better when they're in our time zone and we can watch them as they happen.
Yeah.
But I have been watching the swimming and I've been watching the women's gymnastics because those are my two favorite things. Those girls are kicking fucking ass.
Yes.
They are. And our swimmers are killing it. It was so cute at water aerobics last week. I heard in the background all these little kids. This one little boy's like, I'm Michael Phelps. And this other little girl's like, I'm Katie Ledecky. And they're like, no, I'm Michael Phelps. Like, it was cool.
That's awesome.
I feel like that's what the Olympics are all about. And I get very emotional about the Olympics. I fucking love the Olympics. And I always get super emotional. Anything like that, like, or even like the singing shows, like The Voice. Anything where people are like realizing a dream. I get verklempt. I cry. I bawl my fucking eyes out.
That's sweet.
Kurt's always like, oh God, she's watching something that's making her cry again. Let's get out of the room.
That's sweet. I like that.
And the Olympics and also the national anthem makes me cry for some reason. That and bagpipe music. I cannot listen to with a dry eye.
Yeah.
Kills me every time. Also, I find bagpipe music oddly arousing, so I'm crying, I'm weeping, and turned on all at once.
Wow.
Weird. It's a weird
Isn't there
combo.
A song about the lap dance is always better when the strippers cry?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe you brought that up. I can't. Yes, my friend.
It's so wrong.
Our friend Super Dave really likes that song.
It's so wrong.
Now I'm going to be singing it in my head. God damn it, Lonnie. Lap dance is always better when the strippers cry. So yeah, let's stop that. So, I don't even know how to segue from that shit to macrame, Lonnie.
I know. And well, see, I looked it up because I knew that because when I was a kid, I always thought macrame was weird and it made me itch when I looked at it and I didn't like it. So I knew if I Googled it that I would like it.
You would find something soothing.
And of course, there's beautiful things that you can do with macrame.
Yes, much like last week on our topic of the velvet paintings, macrame had a fucking ugly phase in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it has gotten a stigma.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get a little bit into the history of macrame because it has a fascinating history.
Yeah.
You have to stop looking at Pinterest while we're talking.
I know, but I want you to see this.
Shut the front fucking door. Somebody macrame a skull with like, okay.
Yeah.
This is just too much.
It's too much.
We'll get more to the cool shit about macrame. If you don't know what it is, it's a form of textile making using knotting rather than like weaving or knitting or crocheting. So that's fucking amazing.
Jeez Louise.
I have very happy memories of macrame, even though it was ugly in the 70s, because my dad was like a macrame master when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
And I can remember laying on, because we lived at a lighthouse when I was a little girl. We lived at the New Dungeness Lighthouse when my dad was in the Coast Guard. And we had this big bay, like huge fucking windows that looked out at the beach. And my dad had a hook in the ceiling and he would be working on his macrame plant holders. And like those, like the tiered tables that you put glass in or wood in and shit.
Yeah.
And I would lay in the sunshine with my dollies in the window and on the fucking orange shag carpet and watch him do macrame until I fell asleep.
That's adorable that your dad did macrame.
Like, he was fucking good at it.
That's cool.
So, and I remember later when I think I was in high school. No, I was out of high school. My mom bought him, there's this book called Ashley's Book of Knots. Uh-huh. And anyone who's into nautical stuff, I just had another booger fall out of my nose. What the fuck is wrong with me? I had one fall out at the end of last week's podcast, which we recorded like 5 minutes ago. Sitting here. But Apparently, I have dry bugs.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's just a weird feeling to have the fan hit you and then have a booger fly out of your face. Like confetti. I have like ugly confetti coming out my nose. What was I saying? I got totally sidetracked by my booger.
Dad, and he got a book about
Ashley's Book of Knots.
Yeah.
There are a lot of neat knots, and a lot of those are applied to macrame. We're going to talk a little bit about the knots that you use, but because it is very difficult to explain how to tie a knot on an audio podcast, I'm not going to try to explain how to tie knots.
Yeah.
But we are going to post on our website a basic macrame knot tying guide. Like, I found one. It's a JPEG, like it's a visual. But also, I would recommend for this and anything that you're learning new, go to fucking YouTube and look up tutorial videos.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's always easier for me to watch somebody doing something and do it along with them. Mm-hmm. And with a YouTube video, you can pause it. You can go back.
What did they do there?
That's when I learn a new crochet stitch. I always look at it, or even a new origami fold. I always look at it and watch and do it along a few times before I brave it myself. Because it's just easier that way. Yeah. It's easy. I'm a visual learner, and I'm also a tactile learner. Like, I need to watch and do to get it. Yeah. I'm not. Some people can just read shit and look at schematics and go, I totally get it.
Like the knot figures. Figure one, I don't. Figure two, figure three.
Like, I understand what's happening, and I can probably figure it out, but I need to see the motion and mimic the motion, and then I'll learn it. Yeah. I don't know. It's just the way I do some shit. But macrame was happening way before the fucking ugly ass fucking 1970s brown and orange wall owl on a fucking piece of driftwood bullshit. Yeah, okay. Was a thing. Because gross. How many fucking houses had the wall owls? They're all like, seriously. Dusty, and then dusty motherfucking they, like, fringy, and then the fringe gets all like gross stained from dust.
Yes. Yeah. And the big wooden bead eyes. And...
Oh, yeah. Ugh. Look, the 70s were a rough time, people.
I know.
They used, like, any era in which burnt orange, avocado, and goldenrod are the fucking color scheme of the day.
I know, it's just so funny. I always think of the towel aisle and during those times.
So barfy.
Yeah.
And I always remember, because I think my mom probably still has, maybe not now because she's moved.
Natural.
But that's what color Tupperware was. When you go to fucking thrift stores, which actually you see less and less of it now, but like in the 90s, there was a lot of fucking 70s era brown, orange, yellow, green, and yellow. Yeah. And not pretty colors of brown, orange, green, or yellow. They were all in this like a weird family of shades where like a baby shit could have been involved. Vomit, pea soup. Yeah. Like that whole era of barfiness. Yeah. I rented a house once, or an apartment once, for just a little while that had like the fucking avocado green oven and refrigerator, the range and the refrigerator, and I was like, this place, and it had like the fucking orange Formica counters. Yeah. I was like, well, it's no questioning when era this place was fucking decorated. Yeah, yeah. And the kitchen was actually painted goldenrod, like that shit color of. It was yeah. It was an eyesore. Yeah. It's not. Actually, that place burnt down. I didn't set it on fire. Okay. Like, it burnt down way after I moved out of it. But I drove by and I was like, well, thank God that was a public service. Like, that place was horrible. Like, they're just not pretty colors.
No, I agree. And I like colors. I like those. I can like those colors individually, or like
I don't like those shades of those colors. Like, I like brighten them up, bring up
that's what it
or
is.
Or deepen them. Yes. One of the two, but not this like weird middle of the road blicky. Yeah. Black. Yeah. That just makes me feel like blech.
Yeah. It's so funny and strange.
I just had this weird memory because my uncle was a cabinet maker. And when I was a little girl, he used to have these like laying around the house because his shop was like behind their house. So he would have on like the bubble chains, you know, the chains with little balls. Yeah, yeah. That then they hook together with a little hook. It would be like this big thing of Formica samples. like Formica chips, and you could like move them around on it. There was a hole in the middle of them. And they were always like the grossest colors, like because it was the 70s. So
but then the 80s were much better with the fucking dusty rose.
Oh,
and
fuck me, please, with that shit. My mom
grayish.
had so many. I cannot fucking tell you how many home interior parties that I lived through. Like that was a thing. Do you remember the home interior? Like it was a thing. Like candlelight is like the candle thing is now. And
potpourris and shit.
Yeah, and my mom would have these parties because she must have had a friend that did that shit. And our house was done in like fucking baskets with goddamn silk flowers covered in dust with the dusky fucking rose, mint green, seafoam green, baby blue.
And that blue color that I just don't like. It's like a bluish grayish.
I've never wanted to punch a color until I saw that color. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
it was big in the 80s.
I think that's why I like saturated. Well, and also then the other end of the spectrum, like there was also like the bold fluorescent, like
that's true.
Of the 80s. But yeah, no, my mom's house was, and my grandma's house that she lives in now is like a double wide, like mobile home.
And it's probably all those colors.
And it was definitely built in the 80s because it has like, you know how some of them have permanent wallpaper? Like the drywall's covered in like whatever they use. It's like, and it's like pale pink stripes or pale blue stripes with like the dusty roses in between. And I'm like, oh God, this is gross.
Yeah.
This is gross.
Yeah.
I'm like, Grandma, you know you can paint over this stuff. And she's like, I like it. And I'm like, well, alrighty then.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You like the wood paneling too, Grandma?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on wood paneling. Anyway, the whole point in this crazy sidebar was to say that, like, just because something was ugly done in like, the fashion of an era,
right,
doesn't mean that it's ugly and kitschy still.
Right, and that there's more possibilities.
Yes, you can take it beyond. And man, I've got a pretty good Pinterest board going for this episode. But what I want to say is that I'm going back to macrame can be found as far back as the 13th century in North Africa. It comes from, I can't read my own handwriting again, but it's a word, it sounds a little bit, I would imagine pronounced correctly, it probably sounds a little bit like macrame, but different. Mm-hmm. And it is the Arabic word for fringe. And it refers to the things when you see camels and horses in the desert, the little fringes, the little macrame hat-like things that they make for them to keep the flies out of their face.
Yeah.
So that's where it started. And actually from North Africa, when the Moors invaded Spain, they brought macrame with them. And from Spain, it spread out across Europe. And even, I'm having so much trouble with my handwriting and I need new glasses. But it's spread out across Europe and there are, like, macrame is actually the French word for knot. So I think that there's a combination of different historical aspects that come together to make it what it is now. But from Europe, when we started traveling farther in ships, and I was going to say Queen Mary II taught her ladies in waiting macrame. Like it was a thing. So it's been around for a very, very long time. And they used to tie macrame lace.
Oh, wow.
And with tiny, tiny strands of, like, little tiny rope. So, it's spread globally, though, by sailors. And this is why macrame is often associated with sailors.
Well, did they use it to make nets and stuff?
They did, but also, that's a different thing. But also, they learned to do it, and then they're out at sea for months and months and months. So they have a lot of rope and a lot of time on their hands. Mm-hmm. And then they would come ashore. They would trade with the macrame goods, sell or trade with the macrame goods that they made while they were sailing. So that's how it spread to, like, the Americas and the rest of the world. So thank you, Africa, for macrame, I guess, is what we can say. Let me see. So it actually became pretty popular in America during the Victorian era. Those Victorians... they catch a thing and they get all, like, awesome with it.
Yeah.
And again, I think I mentioned last week, ladies were expected to have hobbies that you did with your hands where you could sit and look pretty with good posture and make things for your family and decorate your home with them. And macrame was one of those things. And they did macrame lace. It was a big thing then.
Cool. Did they use them as like window coverings and stuff?
Yes, they would make window coverings. They made tablecloths. And it's not all this like, I know when people think of macrame, they think of that shit tied out of jute and hemp that's just like heavy and big and scratchy. Yeah. Because jute is very rough. So
that's why I say it makes me itchy.
Well, and then the hippies took it, and we just had this whole rant about the colors, but when the hippies get a hold of the thing, then people forever associate it with hippies.
Right.
And forever go, ew. But here's the thing, Lonnie.
Hippies are okay.
If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know how to do macrame. And you don't know you know how to do macrame.
Oh,
because when you're tying friendship bracelets and shit, or you make those little hemp twine necklaces that chokers we all had in the 90s with the glass beads on them, that shit's macrame. You were doing macrame.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a whole generation of people who are very skilled at macrame and they don't even know that it's macrame. Yeah. Because you're making the cool ass jewelry and bracelets and shit. So that is macrame. It doesn't have to be that weird, ugly crap with the giant, ugly ass wooden beads.
Yeah, I just had to look up Victorian macrame because I was just curious of what it looks like. Yeah, and there's like shawls and pretty like valances.
Yeah, they're very pretty.
Yeah, they're delicate looking.
Yeah, it's not always clunky, big, yucky stuff.
Yeah. Wow, cool.
When you do macrame, I mean, really, it's depending on what, like, the types of cord that you're buying, it's a pretty cheap hobby. I mean, all you need is string and beads. There are various cords and made from like cotton, twine, linen, hemp, jute. I mentioned leather. You can also use nylon cording and the silk cording. You use embroidery threads. Like those are cotton embroidery threads or silk embroidery threads when you're making your bracelets and whatever. But
yeah. Oh yeah, well that's how we made the friendship bracelets.
Yeah.
That's right.
So and there's a really great website for macrame enthusiasts, and I'm going to post a link to it because it has a lot of tips about choosing what cord you're going to use. And of course, the cord you use depends on the job that you want your macrame to do. Mm-hmm. I like macrame because it is also, it's art in an art form, but it's also purposeful. Like it serves a purpose for us. Like you could, like I'm not going to have some big ugly ass 70s fucking tiered glass table hanging in the corner of my house, but it serves a purpose. You can do stuff, and like if we're ever stuck on a desert island and you know fucking macrame, you can make yourself some shelves or whatever,
or a hammock.
Oh my god, there are some cool fucking hammocks to be made for macrame.
I bet.
But, I'm going to show you the Pinterest board for that one, but should I get it out? In there's a guide that talks about things you want to consider about your cord. So you want to know how strong do you need your cord to be? If you need it to hold a lot of weight, you're going to want to go with jute or hemp twine or something that's very, very strong. If you're doing jewelry or something, you want it to be more delicate and soft and probably pretty colored. So that factors in. If you're doing lace, you want smaller cotton cording. Like it just all depends on the job that you're doing. So I'm going to post that guide that will let you know how to do it, like how to decide what you want to use. Because in some cases, I think more than one thing would be appropriate for that. But,
geez, there's some beautiful macrame jewelry.
Macrame jewelry is gorgeous. There's a lot of macrame jewelry. And again, it's called micro macrame. Some of the things that they do, or they're calling it micro macrame. And wow, that's a mouthful, micro macrame. Micro macrame. When you're doing micro macrame, I can't even say that anymore.
No, you did it.
It's so weird, but it sounds so weird coming out of my mouth. But that's when they're doing like these little impossibly tiny and detailed bits of jewelry that I'm going to go into more, but I want to talk about some of the basic knots that you're going to use to do macrame. Because literally all it is tying a knot. So, and you almost always start with a lark's head knot, which you know how to do a lark's head knot. Anyone?
do?
Yes, because that is the knot that you use when you fold something in half and you loop it over something else to attach it to it. So when you fold it in half and you have the end like this, and then you wrap it around like a pole or something or a bar, you've looped it on there.
Oh, okay.
That's what you use to start.
That's how you start this amazing screen.
That's exactly how you start that amazing
so
screen. So that knot is almost always how you start it. An overhand knot, we all know how to tie an overhand knot. We learned an overhand knot when we learned how to tie our shoes. Oh, it's like the first knot that we ever learn. So anything you tie an overhand knot. And a square knot, which we also know how to do. And if you did any macrame, any bracelets, friendship bracelets, you know a square knot, you know a half hitch, you know a double half hitch. And there are a host of other knots. Like my dad used to tie Turk's head knot and make you can make mats out of them or coasters. My dad also did a monkey's fist once. It's like this big ball. And let me tell you something. When your brother fucking cracks you in the back of the head with that shit,
Ow.
It hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Whoa, your phone's making happy sounds.
Yeah, that was loud.
My dad also used to cover the handles of all of his axe handles or flashlight handles, especially. You would have those big expensive mag lights. Mm-hmm. My dad would cover it in macrame stuff, so everybody knew it was his. There was no doubt whose flashlight it was.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. So do you do it when you're doing something like that? Would you do it on the actual item?
Yep. You tie it around the item.
That's really cool.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you could macrame your friend's legs or whatever. I don't know.
If you want to. Or also, a good example of how to do that around something was the hair wraps that we all had in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had some hair wraps that I had to fucking cut out of my hair.
Yeah, I had some too.
They were bad. We did silly things when we were in our 20s, didn't we?
It's just so neat. There's so many things you can do with it.
There are. And so I'm hesitant to go too into all of the different knots that there are because, like I said,
yeah,
it's hard to
endless.
And also it's very hard to describe or tell people how to do it. But there are there's I don't know.
Someone made a shishi amazing little toddler swing. That's beautiful. I mean,
let's talk about things that we can do with macrame that are not necessarily of course, there are the macrame planters, plant holders. Mm-hmm. And we already talked about the macrame, the shelves and all that shit. And really, I think that stuff is pretty outdated. And unless you have a beachy cabin or something that you want to do all in nautical theme, I wouldn't enjoy that in my house. But some people may. Each unto their own.
Yeah, and you can make them a little. Yeah, they still look like the 70s.
They still look like the 70s, no matter what color they are. And I think that we'll just always and forever associate those with that. But that was what was cool in the 70s. But even wall hangings now, because look, here's one of those fucking goddamn owls, Lonnie.
Yeah.
The ugly ass fucking owl on a stick. Get those away from me. They're just gross. But look, here's a little teeny micro owl that is. Yeah. It's still an owl, though. Yeah. I don't know. I like owls. I just don't like a macrame owl.
But see, now this is a chair fit for a queen.
So here is
your garden party.
What you can't see is that Lonnie is looking now at hammocks, hanging hammocks and chairs. And this is one of the utilitarian purposes for macrame. So you're making something pretty, but it's also useful. Mm-hmm. And you can make and there are millions of tutorials out there about how to make hanging chairs or hammocks,
rugs
out of macrame. So that is definitely the one Lonnie was just looking at is a little baby chair. It has the little
beautiful,
you set them probably not a young baby, but I would say a toddler swing. They're really cool. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about that is if you're making those for outdoor use, of course you would bring them in the winter when they rain, but you can buy cord that is meant for outdoor use. And then you'll have, it'll last for a long time. Mm-hmm. I would love to make my husband a big, huge hammock.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be cool. That would be an undertaking, though.
Well, and that little swing was so pretty. You would hang it in your house and
Yeah.
be like, you know,
Like, let
it's
your
like
baby hang.
a fun swing for your kid, but it's also a pretty decoration at the same time.
Put your
almost.
kid in there so you can vacuum and shit without your kid getting in the way. Also,
I like the screens too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can make room dividers. Like they don't have to be the big beaded like weird macrame curtains, but those are actually, some of those are very beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can just like the room divider screens that, like, you know, that accordion fold up that you set up. People take those probably older ones that are maybe you get it pick up at a Goodwill that's got old gross paper that's ripped or the fabric's all faded out, and you tie these beautiful macrame nets over them, and then you have a pretty room divider.
Mm-hmm. Or like one of the screens I saw reminded me of the Game of Thrones, because I'm always the Queen Cersei and her window covers, how it looked, it's a design and like it's so beautiful.
Yes, and
so you could do something kind of similar looking to that. Like I saw someone made a screen and hung it in front of their sliding glass door, and it's like it's pretty, it's cool. I don't know, they're
beautiful, and again, depending on the cords that you use. I mean, I think nowadays in the
this looks like a soft
the
cotton
2010s
white cord or something really,
and you can dye that cording colors that you would like it. And I was gonna say, I think you'd be hard pressed to find the ugly fucking 70s colors now.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. People are also
we're doing some artsy stuff too.
Yeah, sculpture. People do. Lonnie was just showing, and if you could add that to the Pinterest board, the skull thing that you found, because I know I added you to the Pinterest thing.
Have to figure out how to.
If you look at like some of those shirts and dresses that you buy that have the really the cool knotted up back, like this, that is all macrame. Like you can use macrame in clothing.
Yeah.
Or even when you get those tutorials where people make their t-shirts, like they cut the t-shirts in strips and they make a t-shirt into a fancy sundress or a sun top, and they're doing all those knots. That's also macrame, technically. So don't turn your nose up at macrame, is I guess what I'm getting at.
So you could use, because I've talked before about making the t-shirt yarn or whatever.
Yeah.
So you could macrame that into something soft.
Something soft and wearable.
Yeah.
There are some really neat, quick macrame handbags too, like grocery bags that you make. The ones that like expand when you try to use them are actually, that is a macrame technique. You know what I'm talking about, those grocery bags that you get.
Yeah.
They're just little rope bags. That's
great for the beach with your sandy toys.
Totally. Or when you go to the grocery store, you could make a waterproof like nylon and make one to hang, like if you have little kids or something, you want to hang shit up in your shower and let it be able to drain.
Yes. This is so funny. This guy that makes the skulls, someone was writing about him and said, "This ain't your mother's hippie macrame.
No,
see what happens when you take a technique from a craft person and put it into the hands of an artist. Magic."
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, and even if you look at like there are whole shirts that are like tops that are made out of macrame. Yeah. And they're beautiful, and they're made of soft wearable cording and not like scratchy hemp cockiness, because nobody likes that. You can make belts out of it. And jewelry. The jewelry, if you look up micro macrame jewelry, it is gorgeous. Like they're tying, like using macrame as a setting for stones. Like just doing tying macrame around it to hold it in place.
Yes.
And then it's stunning.
Yeah.
It's beautiful
really, really
jewelry.
Pretty. Yeah.
For interesting lighting. Like they're making little lantern holders I've seen around. I think that the possibilities are really endless with macrame, and I think that we should stop turning our noses up at it nowadays.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been guilty
are using
of that.
things that are macrame that they don't really,
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that something's macrame. Like Supra, I saw because first of all, Target carries Supra shoes now, which is awesome. But Super has a pair of macrame tennis shoes that I actually really want. They're very cute. But, I mean, and you are still going to find shit like your crazy Tree of Life Dreamcatcher stuff that people make out of macrame. And if you like that, you like that. It is a little, it's a little woo-woo weirdy. Oh, this is the macrame chair I wanted to show Lonnie. There's like how to make a macrame hammock. And it's just a cute little chair. I don't know that I could see. Here's the thing about hammocks.
I wouldn't be able to
I
sit
am
in
too
there.
short and fat to get in and out of them with any amount of grace. But I think they have some potential. And my son had a hammock when he was a little boy that a friend gave him. He thought that was the coolest shit ever. Like, we hung his hammock above his bed for a while, and he slept in that. And then he would, like, fall out of it into his bed on purpose.
I'm trying to find that school to pin it.
And if you want one of those weird, like, those weird not sandal things that people wear on the top of their feet?
Yeah.
You could always do that and
pretty.
make one out of macrame. I don't know, man.
I've never worn one.
I would never wear one, but So we have a lot of really cool examples of macrame on our website that you guys should go check out. Because again, it's not just it's not just weird fucking hippie shit. And if you take up macrame, maybe someday your kid will be a grown-up and have like this whole happy memory of you doing macrame when they were little. Like I do.
Yeah, totally.
Just macrame is rad, yo.
So what? Sorry, never mind. I probably need to add the board.
But we do have, I almost forgot, on the Pinterest board for this episode, there are some examples of like macrame sculpture and beautiful textile wall hangings that utilize macrame in conjunction with other like weaving and knitting. And so again, this is a mixed media arts podcast. So we're always thinking, I know we talk about a lot of individual techniques here, but macrame can be utilized in other things. Like you can use it with other media. So it just kind of, when you think of it in that way, it expands the possibilities even more so.
Yeah. Yes.
Just doing like paintings with macrame in them, or the fiber art. I that's a favorite thing of mine. Like, I get so mesmerized and sucked in by beautiful fiber arts that people have done. Like, I'm just like, how does that even happen?
I know.
It's gorgeous.
Yes.
But we're losing Lonnie to Pinterest land now.
I'm just trying to find the board to put it on.
It's a secret board, so if you scroll all the way down to secret boards. But you might have to approve being invited to the board?
Yeah, I did. Now I have to find it.
Okay. I think Lonnie and I are we're starting to fade. We need to go eat lunch.
Yeah. Why can't I find this board that I need?
Now you're doing like Gregorian chants. That's
Life
a little
is
weird.
so hard sometimes.
Lonnie is funny. You can also send me the link and I'll do it if you want.
Yeah.
I think you should try some macrame. I think that we as a people should stop poo-pooing macrame, stop turning our noses up to it, and give it a whirl. See what happens.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny that we've kind of got a little theme going. Maybe we should do like string art next week and talk about like that, because I do have that down as a topic.
Yeah.
That we need to discuss. So.
All
right, let's do string art next time.
Okay. I've tried it and failed, but I can always try again.
Like, I had a friend, a family friend, her name was Pat Pearson. She was a really lovely, sweet woman, and she gave me a string art kit that I never finished. She thought that I would really like it, and I did, but I got all the string tangled, and then it made me really upset, and so I think I was like 10, and 10-year-olds don't deal well with tangled string, I guess. I don't know. It made me furious.
Crazy.
It made me cray.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think we just decided what our next topic is going to be. We're going to stick with the weird 70s kitschy theme, and we're going to talk about string art.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about how we can incorporate string art into our mixed media artwork and make it cool and modern, because yeah, that's a thing. But anyway, until next week, go make some cool shit, yo!
Do it now. Good morning, Katie. This is your friend. I'm recording on the new Tascam. I'm trying to figure out what the buttons do. But every once in a while, I take a break to poo.